Hello and welcome to today's video. This is a quick update on the 1995 Solectria E10 restoration. I've got the front battery box here all wired up with the heat pad installed now. With the little black box there is the temperature controlled switch that turns it on and off. I've also got a couple little clip leads stuck into the air conditioner. This vehicle doesn't have air conditioning, so that's where it would that would go power the air conditioning controller, and that's going up to a voltmeter sitting on the hood there. And if we come around, you'll see that it shows 157 volts, and that's because we now have batteries. Dun dun dun. So I've got 12 volt. These are group 24 batteries. They came out of my truck, my 96 Solectria E10. They are going to be replaced with lithium, with the Nissan Leaf lithium-ion battery pack that I've got. So they got donated to this truck for testing purposes, and I kept the other 12 in it. The 7 in the front and the 5 in the back. You can see the 5 more batteries would normally fit here. And then the cables run up to the front, and then you pick up 7 more batteries in the front battery box. And that allows me to still drive my truck around because my wife wasn't unhappy that I was taking her parking space, so she's got her car spot back. But anyways, so we're wired up. We're running under our own power. This battery pack is not providing power, unlike the umbilical cord that I had earlier videos. This allows me to actually test everything at full power, and should be able to drive it around once I get the controllers back in it. Still need to modify the controllers to put the RS422 to RS232 adapters in them, and then still need to, I think, we need to troubleshoot the startup issue with this motor back here. Had a little twitchy at startup. It probably just needs the encoder adjusted, but it could also be the motor controller. I have not swapped the motor controllers to see if the problem follows the motor controllers or stays with that one motor. So that would probably be something that I do next weekend when I get back to working on it, on this. Let's see what else. Oh, I also put the thermal management pad. This is not the one that came with the vehicle. This is actually one that came with another Solectria E10 that I picked up about 6 years ago as salvage, and it was wrecked. And I was able to pick up this heat pad. The one that came with this vehicle had the wires were all pulled out of it, so they didn't work anymore. Now I didn't have the original box. Well, I had the original box, thermal management box, but it was bigger, and so I actually took this as one of the little project boxes that was part of the data acquisition system that was installed on here when it was used by the university, and I repurposed. This is the voltage sensing box. I've repurposed it. You can see the little wires that run down to the heat pad, which you can see down here. So that's installed. This is going to this truck's eventually going to make its way to Canada, so definitely want the heat pads because I hear it gets cold there. Let's see, what else can we... Oh, yeah, here you go. So the lights come on because the DC-DC converter, everything's hooked up now. One of the things that I hadn't checked before was the battery chargers because they were not hooked up yet. Well, because I was just using that little umbilical and it wasn't going to carry enough current to check the battery chargers. Before I do that, you can see I'm ready to test it. I've got the amp meter hooked up around the positive lead there so you can see current going into the battery pack. But we kind of need to drain it down a bit, and the best way to drain it down is with the heater. The amp hour counter came on, it does work. The amp meter works. Voltmeter, not so much. It's dead. So hopefully that's just a wiring problem. I'll need to go in there and do some troubleshooting. See if we get if it's some kind of wiring issue. But go ahead and turn it on here. You see my battery voltage is starting to drop because they're putting out a load. And yeah, everything else looks good. There, radios came on. Hey, there's some pennies in there. And yeah, let's go ahead and turn on some heat here. So you definitely got air coming. I don't know if you can hear that. Turned it up to the max. And then we can turn the heat on. And we should see the amps being drawn, because it draws about 10 amps. And yep, heat is on, and you can see our amp hour counter is now counting. And we're definitely pulling current out of the batteries. And these are 20 amp divisions. So if I get on there, the glare, no, not really. But here, let me turn it off. You can see it. 10 amps. So it looks like it's working. We'll pull some power out of the battery here. So you can also turn on the headlights. Get those on. Yeah, I'm out of stuff to turn on. Yeah, a little disappointed that the voltmeter is not working. The backlight's turning on. Can't really tell. Backlight came on in here too, and I turned the lights on, but yeah, it's definitely getting warmer in here. The heat definitely works. It's getting nice and warm. We've drained our battery down to what we're at, 148 volts now. The batteries were fully charged when they came out of my truck, so yeah, I'll just burn off some amp hours here. It's probably going to be a boring video. I should probably just pause it and come back, except I can only pause for 5 minutes before my phone times out. But you know what, this is probably, we could go ahead and turn this down because it's really loud. So it looks like everything's working in this. Yeah, the heater definitely is working because it's getting kind of toasty in here. And yeah, well, that's probably good enough. We'll just 0.25 amp hours. And when I turned that off, you can see our battery bounced back up to 151 volts. So we'll go ahead and turn off the headlights and turn off the car. So the power steering pump, vacuum pump, everything else is working. Drew down to 0.26 amp hours there, and we'll go ahead and plug in. Leave the key here. Go ahead and plug in the battery chargers next. There's two BC1000s. These are 1 kilowatt each. Let me go turn this on here. And now I gotta zero it. Close enough. It's a Hall effect one. It's kind of cheap. It doesn't work that great. And we've got trusty 240 volts here. I don't believe these run at 120. I'd have to double check, but I think they're 240 only. So I got a 240 plug here. That's what I use to charge my truck. And a little extension. We're going to go plug in the far one first. And this will let us see the current that it's putting out. And also look at the voltmeter. And let's see. How am I going to be able to plug this in while holding the camera? Hey, you know what? I'm just going to set the camera right here. Will it stay? Oh, that looks awesome. Okay. I can use two hands here. Alright, she's plugged in. Takes it a little second to boot up. There it goes. So it's putting out 5.6 amps, 5.5. And you can see our voltage has gone up to 154.7. So putting some energy in. 155.1. So we're pumping out about almost 6 amps. So it looks like that guy's working, so I'm going to unplug him and then plug the other charger in. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to set the phone right there. And then I'm going to plug the other guy in, which you won't be able to see until I pick up the phone. Okay, so I plugged in this guy. We'll wait for it to boot up. There it goes. And this one's only putting out 2.5 amps. So that's curious. I don't actually know what their program... Oh, wait, hold on. This one's also putting out 160 volts. So I bet they're programmed differently. So I'll have to hyper terminal into them. So there's a little serial port right here on the side. And I can hyper terminal into them and see how they're programmed. And set them up for these gel cells that are currently in it. And yeah, but it looks like both of them are working. They're definitely putting out current. And they're definitely putting out a voltage, so they're definitely charging the battery there. Can we see it on the meter? It's too low to see, but the meter is counting backwards. See, we were at 25, now we're down to 15, so we put 0.1 amp hours back in. So yeah, it looks like the battery chargers are working, and it looks like the heater works. The only thing I need to fix is that voltmeter. Let me unplug this for a sec. Hold on. There you go. It's pretty loud. So yeah, it looks like everything's working except for that voltmeter. I'll need to go and figure out why the voltmeter is not working. And yeah, I think everything's going to be good. So anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.